Hey guys, what's going on? We got another PvP video, but this time we are playing Elemental as I was having some bad luck with enhance and honestly wasn't really enjoying it. So I decided let's jump on the alt, play some Elemental and had a bit of fun. And also you probably already noticed I don't have any of my add-ons turned on. The reason why is because I forgot to turn them on. And that's because I was raiding the night before I did this, so you know, I just forgot to turn them on. So we have literally no information, which is okay. But anyways, we are fighting a fire mage, a feral druid, an augmentation evoker, and two disc priests, I think. So the augmentation evoker is the only thing I've never fought before, and holy cow does he do a lot of damage. Not only is he ever so slightly buffing mine, but his raw damage on his own is kind of ridiculous. And I'd like to actually see them design the spec around this, even in PvE as well. It looks pretty cool. But anyways, our main focus here is going to be kind of the feral. Reason being is there's no point in chasing after the mage because he's ranged. The feral has to come to us. And chasing after the mage could prove difficult. Plus, they're a pain in the butt to kill. The feral we can put out of position by moving him and forcing him farther back away from his healer, like we have him here. And you can see the amount of pressure we're putting on him, forcing him to go bear form, forcing him to back off, and just keeping an eye on the mage. And rather than chasing around a corner, I'm quickly switching targets. Very important. I find now I'm no expert on elemental or anything. I just dabble in it and have fun with it. But I've noticed there's no point in chasing after people around corners unless we really have pressure. And because we don't have a mortal strike either, there's really no reason to chase after one single target when we can put pressure onto everybody we want. So you can see we get the mage very low, the feral's dipping in as well. So now we switch our focus onto the feral, trying to push this healer's mana into nothingness. And you can see I get a full lasso. The dragon gets a nice sleep, although I don't think it landed. And then he gets a nice deep breath there, which does a lot of damage. And the feral is going after our healer. So I kind of jump away, get to our healer, because I know I'm their target, and the Og got polyed. So I knew he was going to be safe for the most part. Send out a primordial wave with quick damage onto the mage, get a huge blast onto him, and then quickly swap back to the feral because the mage is dipping LOS and I can't really hit him. And we end up getting a quick kill on the feral druid because the Og just does some mad burst damage. So honestly, I am quite shocked with the amount of damage augmentation is doing right now. I know they got like 15% buff on top of 8% on top of like 20% or something like that, and it's just actually insane. And I've never really played the spec myself, so I have no idea what it actually does other than like buffs your teammates. But it seems like they are moving it into more of a self-sustainable thing where they're doing the damage themselves and slightly buffing their teammates, I guess. So quite a shock, actually. So here we're fighting the Fire Mage. I think we should have ended up going for the Augmentation Evoker rather than the Mage for the most part. But at the same time, we could have made some swaps. I just feel like mages are very tanky now. And honestly, I don't feel like they're that great of targets unless you can really get a good, solid stun on them. But anyways, you can see the Varel getting pulled out of position here. I see the priest in the Narnia there, so I go ahead and knock him a bit further away, keeping him away from the mage as much as I can, but it didn't end up working. So here we get a little combo going started. You can see the feral, he's getting hit, unfortunately, and he has to go bear form. And then they get the life swap from our priest onto the feral, but we don't really get any damage. And I'm also realizing that flame shock comes off very, very fast. And that's because I think every time you lava burst or something, it reduces the duration. I never really looked into the build all that much. I just kind of plugged it and played it. So it's quite a different play style than it used to be. Well, not really, but it's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. But anyways, now we're facing the feral and the Og. So our main target is going to be the feral here, just because the feral has Cyclone. He's also probably going to be the easier target to hit, just because he's going to be in range. Now, I don't really want to leave the augmentation alone. I want to make sure we're putting pressure on him because he doesn't have nearly as much getaway potential as the Pharaoh. And you can see there he dipped behind the pillar with the healer with rescue. So we just quickly swap back to the Pharaoh, but he ends up having pain suppression. And I think he also popped his survival instinct, so he was taking almost no damage there, which was a bit unfortunate. But the priest gets a nice poly, but I believe it does, yeah, it doesn't really help us out, which sucks. We don't really get anything there, but we're trying. We're trying. I don't really think Fire Ellie is all that powerful. We're not getting a huge amount of damage. Like you can just see by the damage meters, the Pharaoh and the Og are just doing enormous amounts of damage. You see I get slept here. Bit unfortunate. And I dropped Tremor super early, which is unfortunate because I thought they were going for sleeps on the priest, but then he gets feared. But thankfully they didn't have anything to really pressure us with, so we were able to just stay alive with that. And here I get Stormkeeper and I go for a quick little burst. Bloodlust, my teammate, and go for a quick burst on the Pharaoh, but he ends up dipping behind a pillar, but we still get him just in time. I'm not sure why the dog dragged him, but it must have been a misclick where he jumped back in. It must have just been a misclick, which is fair because, like, you know, you probably should have stayed behind the pillar, but it is what it is. When you're in the heat of the moment, right? It's a totally different game. Totally different game. But anyways, me and the Og again, we're fighting the Feral Mage now. And the same as last time, we're going to put the most pressure onto the Feral Druid while keeping our eyes on the Mage as much as possible. Now, the Mage is doing a great job with ice walls. I can't tell where my priest is, whether he's on the wrong side or the right side. I could not tell. And then he puts a barrier on top of the ice wall, which really sucks because I can't use it. It's just like completely unfortunate. But we start putting a lot of pressure onto the Mage because he's getting low and then he dips behind the pillar. I see the Pharaoh going for a clone, but I should have used lasso much sooner, but it's okay. I use full lasso. The priest doesn't have to do anything. We're good. Poly starts going out, so I make sure to interrupt that, and then we get cloned here, I think, or the healer does. No, he cancels it. Okay, he doesn't. I thought he was going to go for the reclone, but he didn't. So we got ice block, which is huge. So that means either of them are a target now because we've mostly got all of their defensives. There's another pain suppression, which is great. So now we can just put pressure onto everybody and see what we can do. So now my main focus is kind of the Mage. I see combustion, so I go ahead and drop grounding totem just to soak up the majority of that damage. So that way none of us get blasted, because I do believe combustion does a lot of damage, so it can be quite scary. But here we get another window of Stormkeeper, and then I try, so the ice wall is so weird, you can't, it got put over the like stairs and I could not get over it, which was weird. I tried jumping, but it just wasn't enough, but you can see we just blasted the Mage down. He had nothing left, so it was quite fortunate for us. But now we are fighting the Og and the Feral, which is going to be mostly the scariest part. As per usual, we want to go for the Feral, shut down the clones, and I believe the Og just, you know, has a bit more survivability, but also he can go into a bit more awkward positions to force us there. And here I get a huge amount of pressure, trying to at least send it all onto the Og. He's in our face. He dips behind the wall, so I go ahead and start hitting the Feral now. Making sure I'm just making use of my Ascendance, right? Getting the damage out there, trying to put as much pressure on everybody as possible. And you can see the Og is still about low HP, so I get another lucky Ascendance proc, huge amount of damage, and almost bring down the Og Evoker. It's kind of insane and kind of a shock, so I go for a Hex here, see the Cyclone, go ahead and interrupt that, make sure he can't do anything. And we're kind of forcing them behind a pillar, which is good, forcing them not to do any damage, which is great. The less damage they deal to us means the more damage we deal to them in a sense, and we don't have to work as hard. So here, the Feral's in kind of like a bad position, so I tried to lasso, but he ends up trinketing, which sucks, but he also had, I believe, instincts and stuff, so there wasn't really much of a kill potential there. So I get really low, a good life swap by our priest to keep me alive just enough, and we start putting the pressure back onto them, making sure we have the advantage. And you can see them dipping behind the pillar once again, so I start chasing after them, knowing that we can potentially get a kill here, but they end up getting some CC on us. I'm not sure what was with that sleep, but It ended up going on me, which is a bit unfortunate for them. And then here comes the Aug's burst, I guess. I think that's majority of where the damage comes from. But the mage starts getting blasted, which is a bit unfortunate, popping cauterize. And I think he goes down here. Yep. So it was just a bit unfortunate. The priest couldn't pick us back up after that go. I'm not exactly sure. I think with Aug, it's like when they deep breath, I think it is, or Breath of Eons. I think that's like their big damage moment. I'm not sure, but it like launches a whole bunch of stuff at everybody. Like you can just see the amount of damage going out right now. Put a whole lot of pressure here on the mage, seeing if I can get anything. I get cauterized, which is great. Get the ice block right there, perfect. So we're gonna switch our focus onto the Aug, and you can see there we get pain suppression, which is very, very good. That means they have one less defensive. I saw that fear coming, and I failed to get the tremor down in time, so I go ahead and trinket tremor, making sure that my priest can get out of it and he can save his trinket and not have to worry about anything. We can see here, we're kind of dipping around the pillar, making sure the Pharaoh's got access to everybody. He's doing a great job at LOSing, and I'm just trying to keep the pressure, making sure they don't have any time to recuperate. More damage I can deal, the more pressure I can put on them, and the Pharaoh has an easier time getting around. So this is where I think we start playing on the other side of the stairs here. I get a nice Ascendance proc right there, putting out a lot of damage. Quick little Stormkeeper. I realize that my other cooldowns are coming up, but I don't wait for it. I just go ahead and send the damage. Bit unfortunate here that I used both Ancestral Awakening and Primordial Wave without a Flame Shock on the mage. So there, I saw our priest getting bit CC'd. I saw the Aug on our Pharaoh, so I go ahead and lasso just to stop damage, making sure my Pharaoh can stay alive as long as possible. And this is where it starts getting very, very close. We're all very low. Priest is doing a good job. Their priest is MCing me, which is weird. I figured he would have MC'd the our healer. But here they start going behind the stairs, which is where the mage makes a mistake. So we start pushing pressure onto the Aug. He's going for a poly on our healer, but he missed both of them. So now I switch my focus to the mage because he has nothing. He has no cauterize and he has no ice block. So that means he's the easiest target, but they already know that. So here, he's going to blink behind, pop Bloodlust. I get everything prepared, and he blinks back in, which was really, really weird. I'm not sure what happened, but anyways, yeah, that was his mistake. But anyways, guys, that is it. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Laters!